Hi everyone. Today's topic is To Autumn by John Keats. Keats was born in the year 1795 and was died in 1821. He was an English romantic poet. This poem was composed in 1819 and it was published in 1820. The poem is about autumnal enrichment, autumnal abundance, but there is a twist and I will tell that twist at the end of my video. So watch till the end without any further delay. Let's move towards the poem. So, before going into the detailed description of the poem, I must tell you certain things. To Autumn is actually an ode written by John Keats. What is an ode? An ode is actually a long poem with a lyrical note, and it is often addressed to a person or a place or an object or an idea. Usually, the poet used to praise something in ceremonious tone. In 1819, when the poet is writing this ode, he has written several other odes, 6 major odes. These are Ode to Nightingale, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode to Indolence, Ode to Psyche, Ode to Melancholy, and To Autumn. So this To Autumn is the last of these 6 odes. Now in this poem, To Autumn, he has dealt with the season autumn. Why autumn, not spring? Spring is the most preferable season. But he has talked about autumn, autumnal abundances, autumnal fulfillment, autumnal enrichment, etc. And this poem is a bit difficult if you look at the sentence structure. So try to read this poem in prose form. At first read the poem, then make it a prose form, then you will understand the meaning easily. Now look at the first line of the poem, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. So autumn is the season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. Mellow means ripe. So autumn season is the season of mist and ripe fruitfulness. Mist means the autumnal mornings are misty, not the Bengali misty. Obviously mist means the fog. Autumnal mornings are filled with fogs and this is the season of ripe fruitfulness. The next line, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. This season is the close bosom friend of the maturing sun. Why sun is maturing? There are two meanings. First, the sun is maturing because this sun helps the fruit to get ripe, and secondly, the sun is maturing because it is autumn and the time is probably the twilight, so sun has matured. These are the two probable meanings of this phrase. So this sun and autumn are the close bosom friend. They are friends. Next line, conspiring with him how to load and bless. Conspiring with him means the autumn is conspiring with sun. Conspiring means in Bengali Shorojantra, in Hindi Sadyantra or Sajis Rachana. So this sun and autumn, they both make the plans or both of them conspire how to load and bless. Load and bless what? Read the next line. With fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. So they both make the plans how to load and bless the fruit trees with vines. Vines means the grapes, and you can look at the picture and you will get the meaning. So what are these thatch eaves? Thatch eaves means that straw covered roofs. In India you will find these types of roofs covered with thatch, and in England they cover these houses with reeds. Sometimes this happens, and the vines are actually the creepers, and these are running around the eaves, thatch eaves, and these eaves are the triangular part of that thatch roof which are overhanging from the roof. I hope the meaning is clear now. So look at the next line. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees. So these sun and autumn are conspiring to bend the apple trees or the branches of the apple trees. How? They will produce so much apples, or they will give so much apples to the branches that the branches will be bent by the load of the apples. And mossed cottage trees, look at the picture. These trees are covered with the moss. That means the mossy branches of the apple trees. Now the next line, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. Then they are conspiring that they will fill all the fruits with ripeness to the core. Core means center. Then the next line, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel cells. Hazel cells are the hazelnuts. Look at the picture. And to swell the gourd, they will swell. Swell means plump. They will plump the gourd. They will plump the hazel cells with a sweet kernel. In the next line, with a sweet kernel. That means with a sweet sweet core. So read this line like this: to swell the gourd and plump the hazel cells with a sweet kernel. Now the next part: to set budding more and still more later flower for the bees. So this sun and the autumn, they are again conspiring that they will set much more budding, much more flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease. So the bees are thinking that these warm days or summer days will never come to an end. Why? Read the next line: for summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. Clammy means sticky. This clammy cells refers to the honeycombs. Summer has overbrimmed, that means has filled the honeycombs to the edges. Kanai kanai bhurti in Bengali. So summer has overwhelmed their clammy cells, and that's why these bees are thinking that these warm days will never come to an end, because autumn is again providing much more flowers for the bees. And I must tell you that in England, autumn comes after the summer, so these bees are thinking that warm days or summer days will never come to an end. So I will summarize the whole thing for once again, because this is a very tough poem. So here the poet says that autumn is the season of mists and the ripe fruitfulness, and in this season the sun is referred to as maturing, because the sun helps the fruits to get mature or to get ripe. So the sun and the autumn season, they both conspire, or they both make the conspiracy to load and to bless the fruit trees with much more vines, or grapes with apples. They are also conspiring to make the fruit trees ripe to the core. They are conspiring to plump the gourd, the hazel cells, so that they have a sweet kernel. They are also conspiring to set much more buddings for the bees. So these are the autumnal abundances, autumnal enrichment, fruitfulness, etc. Now move towards the next stanza. In this stanza, the poet has compared autumn season with a goddess or with a woman, and she is often seen as a harvester, reaper, a gleaner, or the cider presser. So look at the first line: who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Amid means in between or in the middle. Who has not seen you oft, often amid thy store? Store here refers to the farmhouse. So he has said that who has not seen autumn season between the store, between her store or her farmhouse. Next line: sometime whoever seeks abroad may find. Sometimes whoever seeks means whoever goes to abroad, or whoever is outside home may find. That particular person who is outside home may find. Next line: thee sitting carelessly on a granary floor. So he will find autumn season sitting carelessly on a farmhouse. Here granary floor refers to the farmhouse. Next line: thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. So your hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. Now winnowing means, so winnow means the blow of air that removes or separates the chaff or the husk from the grains. Now what is this husk? Husk is actually the dust or kind of things, or the dry cover or the dry skin of the grains. So that skin is removed when air is blown, and that air is known as winnowing wind, or the blow of wind is also known as the winnowing wind, and that particular wind ruffles up the hair of autumn season. Now the next line: or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep. So that particular person who is outside house, he may find you on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep. Furrow means the rows of ditches made by plowing the field. You can visualize in the image, these are the furrows, or you can simply refer to the field. Now half-reaped furrow. Why half? Because the half of the copse of the field has been cut, so that's why she is sleeping on the half-reaped furrow. Next line: drowsed with the fume of poppies. So she is sleeping because she is drowsed, or she is lulled by the smell of poppies. Fume means smell. Poppies are the intoxicated seeds, so that's why she is feeling numbness. Now the next part: while thy hook spares the next swath and all its intertwined flowers. So because she is sleeping, her hook or the sickle spares, that means leaves the next swath. Swath means the row of fields. The next row of fields remains uncut by the reaper, and because of that the flowers remain intertwined with the poppies. Then next line, and sometimes like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook. Sometimes she is like the gleaner. Gleaner means the one who collects the scattered crops, and she keeps steady while crossing the brook because her head is laden with the load of the crops. We find in India that women carrying the bundle of ripe golden paddy crops after they harvest their fields. So this image is used here. Next, or by a cider press with patient look. Sometimes she is like a cider presser watching the cider press. Cider press is a machine to collect the cider, that means apple juice, and here she is watching that process to collect juice. She is watching this process with a patient look. Next line, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Oozings means falling in drops. So she is watching these fallings of cider drops for hours. Now come to the next stanza. Where are the songs of spring? Ay, where are they? Now the poet is talking about the songs of spring, and he says that where are the songs of spring? Next line, think not of them, thou hast thy music too. Now the poet is saying to the autumn that don't think about the music of spring, you have your own music. So next line, while bird clouds bloom the soft dying day. Bird means the lined clouds. During twilight the clouds are lined with the ray of sun. So that is referring here, and that clouds are so blooming the soft dying day. Now the next line, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. What is the meaning of stubble? Stubble are actually the leftover part of the grain plants which are sticking to the ground, and these are touched by the rosy hue of the sunlight. Now I must tell you one thing, that there is a Hindi song by Ranveer Kapoor, Galti Se Mistake. There is a line that there is chikne galo pe stubble ki fasal ugana. So that trimmed beard is actually known as stubble, and these are also sticking to the cheek. So you won't forget if you remember this reference, but don't write this reference in your exam. So the next line, then in a wailful choir the small nuts mourn. Wailful means in a mournful, choir means the group of singers, and nuts are actually a mosquito kind of insects which are humming now. So their humming is referred to as wailful because the sound is a mournful sound. Then among the river shallows borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. So with the wind they are lifting up and they are sinking down. And river shallows means the shrub or the plants near the rivers, and these nuts are mourning or these nuts are humming from these shrubs. Next line, and full grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. The full grown lambs are bleating from the hilly region. Bourne means place here, and bleat means the call of the lamb. Then the next line, hedge crickets sing. During autumn the hedge crickets, the crickets hiding in the hedges, they also sing. And now with treble soft the red breast whistles from a garden croft. Treble soft means soft sound. The red breast is a bird, robin redbreast. Garden croft means the fence of the gardens. So the robin redbreast is whistling from the garden croft, and this sound is very much soft. Next line, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. The swallows are gathering because it is autumn, now winter will come. So they are gathering in the skies, they are ready to migrate to the warm regions or warm areas. So in this way the poem comes to an end. Now what is the twist? Throughout the poem you find that the poet has evoked maturity, autumnal abundances, the fruits are ripened to the core, the lamps are fully grown. But tell me one thing, is there any further growth? Is further growth possible at this point? Everything has reached at the maturity. Now what will come? Death will come, decay will come. So though the poem refers to the autumnal abundances, autumnal ripeness, etc., etc., but there is a hidden tone of death, and these are not my words, these are said by the critics. It is said that death is implicit in fulfillment, and the serene beauty of autumn is the nature of an illusion. So, autumnal beauty is kind of an illusion. And the next thing I will tell you that there are 5 senses we all know, and in this poem Keats has referred to all the 5 sensuous imageries. How? There is the tactile imagery, for example, maturing sun, then plum, then cottage trees, all refer to the visual imageries. Then there is the auditory imagery, that means which we can hear, the loud bleating of the lambs, the humming of the gnats, then the hedge crickets sing, then there is the whistle of the redbreast. These are the auditory imageries. Then there is tactile imagery, soft, warm, these are felt by touching something. Then there is the olfactory imagery, the fume of poppies, the smell of the poppies. Then there is the gustatory or the taste, which is the sweet kernel. This sweetness will be felt when we will taste something. So this is all about the poem. Hope you understood. Subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share with your friends. Thank you so much.